Prime Minister's questions.
The Honourable Member for Laventille East Mover.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Does the Prime Minister agree with the Minister of Land and Marine Resources that the terms of any lease or other agreements with regard to state lands entered into between Super Industrial Services Limited and the Government of Trinidad and Tobago is a private matter and therefore should not be disclosed to the public?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've spoken to the Honourable Minister of Land and Marine Resources. He has indicated at no time did he state that lease or other agreements with regard to state lands entered into between SIS and the government is a private matter and therefore should not be disclosed. So the question appears to be predicated upon a statement that was never made.
The Honourable Member for Laventille.
I would like to ask the Prime Minister to double check, please, because I saw the Minister making that statement.
Certainly, and I'm sure the Honourable Minister is in the House and will be hearing you. But he did indicate to me that the statement he made is that if there is a lease agreement, that is a public document, would be registered with the Ministry of Legal Affairs and will be a public document disclosure in public. But the Minister has indicated he did not say that it would be a private matter and therefore should not be disclosed. So Minister is hearing us and will confirm.
The Honourable Member for Laventille East Mover.
Can the Prime Minister state under what conditions was Super Industrial Services Limited allowed to erect a fence around the large 35-acre of state land in Perseverance Village, Hoover?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, Honourable Speaker, the question is predicated on a fact scenario which, whether they are truth or allegations in the public domain.
Please.
Honourable Speaker.
Please.
In such circumstances, I am told by the EMBDC that they agreed to rent a parcel of land in Perseverance Village, Hoover, for the purpose of stockpiling materials. The land was not previously occupied. That person has been paying rents to the EMBDC, Honourable Speaker, and therefore the EMBDC has stated that where the renter is in occupation and is paying their rents, they are entitled to do such works on the lands as any renter would on a parcel of land.
The Honourable Member for Gopee-Scoon North East.
Is the Prime Minister saying that she is not aware that SIS is squatting on 35 acres of state lands?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
I am not aware of any such. I am not aware of any squatter. Member for Gopee-Scoon has asked a question, and I am prepared to answer the question. You see, the truth hurts. When we want to answer the questions, they ask to get upset. But I will answer the question. I am not aware that there is a squatter on any particular parcel of land, Mr. Speaker. I have said the EMBDC has indicated that the person is renting or a company is renting the lands, and therefore the issue of squatting does not arise.
Supplemental, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the Honourable Member.
Honourable Prime Minister, as you just stated, they are entitled to do any works necessary as a renter. Will that include the construction of buildings on those lands?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Again, those will be matters to be worked out with the relevant agency and the renter as per whatever agreement they have entered into.
The Honourable Member for Laventille East Mover.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Prime Minister.
Please, Member Mover, Laventille East Mover, please. Could the cross talk between Gopee-Scoon North East and Tabaki, could you reduce it? Because I would like to hear what the member is saying. Hansard would like to record what is being said. So could you stop disturbing the proceedings? Honourable Member for Laventille East Mover.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honourable Member, the Commissioner of State Lands stated that SIS does not have tenancy on the land. They are now applying for tenancy on the land. So please, I would like you to check this information, because it's out there and the Commissioner of State Land stated that.
Member. Thank you, Honourable Member. The line minister for the MBDC would follow up on your concerns and your queries with respect to this matter.
The Honourable Member for Chaguanas West.
Speaker, could the Prime Minister state whether it is indeed the case that the government has agreed to a new policy for the landless program? If yes, what changes have been made and on what date was the policy changed?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
The answer to your question is yes, Honourable Member. Again, the details of the change in policy could be further enunciated and elaborated upon by the line minister, but I will give you some of the outlines with respect to the change policy. So yes, there has been a change. As to when that change was made, the Cabinet approved those changes yesterday, and it was yesterday that the Honourable Line Minister in the post-Cabinet briefing gave some indications as to changes. The new policy for the landless now establishes an income ceiling of $30,000 joint family income. Now, prior to this, I think it was $10,000. Income ceiling was $10,000, so that people above 10 to 30 would not be able to access or would not have an opportunity for lands for the landless. So now that ceiling has been raised. That has been one change. This allows professionals as well as low-income families to make applications for the lands, which will be allocated in several areas of the country. These changes, I said, approved yesterday by Cabinet. This is a program developed by the government in 2012. It was always intended to help landless people get lands at subsidized prices to build their homes. The change allows more people to be able to own lands. The expanded ceiling would give an opportunity to youth and middle-income persons to access lands on which they can build a home and build communities. This, too, is another unprecedented initiative of the government, the present government, and designed to help a large cross-section of communities across the land. This is also a part of an overall initiative which includes the 100 houses per week to be distributed by the Ministry of Housing. And land for landless and squatter regularization would involve a 2% mortgage via the TTMF, again allowing low-interest loans to develop these lands. It is expected that an investment of about $1 billion a year in partnership with the private sector, and the lots would be highly subsidized by the state using the following formula. Lands valued up to $250,000, up to 80%. Lands valued at between $250,000 and $300,000, up to 70%. And lands valued at between $300,000 and $350,000, 50%. Lands over $350,000, 30%.
The Honourable Member for Chaguanas West.
Can the Prime Minister say if any agencies, persons, or organizations were consulted relative to this new land policy, land which belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? And also, can she say when a list of qualified persons who will receive these lands will be published?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, I know some lands, not under this new policy, because it was only yesterday that this was approved by the Cabinet. But prior to this, the land for landless policy, which gave to income earners up to $10,000, there was a lottery draw for transparency and accountability that took place in San Fernando, I recall, quite some time ago. Yes, ministers will have the details. About 2 years ago. So some 2013. So some lands are drawn by lottery, and minister will give the formula as to how we will deal with the other parcels of land. You asked about consultations. Perhaps the minister could provide some more details about that. But I know, as a member of parliament myself, and from hearing other members of parliament speak, that this has been a great cause of concern to persons who wish to access land, but because of the income ceiling at the $10,000, that many of them who were low or low middle income earners were precluded from accessing these particular parcels of land or through this program.
The Honourable Member for Chaguanas West.
If I may be right, at this point in time, the Prime Minister is unable to say which organizations or persons or agencies were consulted on this new land policy. And you are unable to say when these people who are qualified on this new land policy, when it shall be published. Am I correct?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, I don't know if that one way to say. I mean, if the policy was only approved yesterday, certainly we cannot say when we will publish who will get the lands. There's a process to be gone through. They will apply the qualifications to meet the criteria and so on. It would be premature at this time to say, okay, in 1 month's time, this will happen. Of course, we intend to make it happen as soon as possible. On the other question, if you may remind me, please. There was a second question.
Policy. Land which belongs to people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
At this point in time, you cannot say who were consulted on this new policy.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Sure. Honourable Speaker, when I said earlier, I said the Line Minister will give further details, but I do know as members of Parliament, our constituents have been making these representations. I do know that the Land Settlement Agency has also been involved as an agency, and again, it will be difficult for me now, without checking the records, to say 1 to 20 people were asked, were consulted, but consultations did take place, whether formally, directly, informally, or indirectly.
The Honourable Member for Diego Martin Central.
Supplemental. With respect to this change in policy, many persons earning less than $10,000 per month would have applied prior to the announcement yesterday. Would the Prime Minister agree that it is now less likely, now that the income ceiling has been raised, less likely that their needs would be satisfied? The pool has been increased.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
No, I would not say that at all, sir. I could see where you're going, but I would not say that would happen because you have 2 windows now. You have for those earning below 10,000, and you have those earning for up to 30,000, 10 to 30. So there are 2 windows, firstly. And secondly, the mechanisms that will be put in place would be such that will allow for transparency and accountability and equal opportunity for everyone to access through the applications, to have the same equality of opportunity in gaining such a parcel of land.
The Honourable Member for St. Joseph.
Thank you. Honourable Prime Minister, you spoke about the 100 houses per week to be distributed. May I ask if individual members of Parliament will be having an opportunity to represent their constituents in the distribution of these houses?
Honourable Member, the Line Minister for Housing says, as the members of Parliament always do, and if you have not been doing so, we invite you to please also make use of it. But I've spoken with the Minister of Housing, and given the large amount of persons who have applied, who will be applying, who are lining up every day because people are so in need of housing, that we may want to consider another window of opportunity, similar to what we did for the landless, which is that we have a lottery draw. In that way, no one can say that I've selected my sister for the Spin South because she looks very beautiful today and is my friend or not my friend. No one can say that I did not select a member for Diego Martin Northeast because he talks a lot. So we have equality and transparency. I've asked them to consider, Honourable Speaker, again, the mechanisms for the distribution to allow equality and opportunity for everyone to access these houses.
All right, let's go on. The Honourable Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please.
Can the Prime Minister advise on the present status of those nationals of Trinidad and Tobago who have been incarcerated in Venezuelan jails for an inordinate length of time?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Present status of nationals. Mr. Speaker, I have maintained, I think it's very important for us to understand, and I think my honourable colleague Chaguanas West also will fully understand, having been a Minister of National Security previously, that we cannot interfere with the judicial system of another country, national security apparatus and judicial system of another country. I've maintained that from the beginning of this matter, and I did so up to recently when President Maduro visited Trinidad and Tobago in our bilateral meetings. In addition to that, we must act in accordance with the recent United Nations resolution, the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2178, which Trinidad and Tobago co-sponsored with Jamaica and with many other nations around the world. And so we are obliged to uphold this resolution, which provides with a way for dealing with foreign terrorist fighters. Given those 2 pillars, Mr. Speaker, we will not act in any way to prejudice the court process of a sovereign nation, in the same way that we would not want another nation to act in any way to prejudice our judicial system here and our security systems. However, dialogue between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago authorities will take place in relation to the 5 Trinidad and Tobago nationals detained on terrorism charges in that country. Indeed, in the bilateral discussions we had, we raised the matter with President Maduro, and President Maduro agreed that ministers of foreign affairs of both countries and ministers of national security were to continue in dialogue with a view to seeing how best this matter could be resolved. Again, we agreed that all talks would be without prejudice to the legal system of Venezuela under which the gentlemen were charged, the persons were charged in Venezuela.
The Honourable Member for Chaguanas West.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to know, Madam Prime Minister, if you have any idea what our embassy is doing in Venezuela for these guys, seeing that they have to be transferred tomorrow to another prison, another cell, that is very dangerous.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, the Minister of Foreign Affairs has advised, has told us from time to time that our embassy in Trinidad and Tobago, as it must do anywhere we have an embassy, gives whatever support they can give to the Trinidad and Tobago nationals in Venezuela.
The Honourable Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Prime Minister, as the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago has been without a board since August 2014, can the Prime Minister please advise when the government will be appointing a board of directors for the Sport Company?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Honourable Speaker, the new board for the Sport Company was approved by Cabinet recently, and on 5th of March 2015 has been confirmed. So the board has been approved and confirmed by the Cabinet. Letters of appointment should go out in due course if they have not already done so.
The Honourable Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Prime Minister state?
Please.
Yes.
Please.
Can the Prime Minister state whether political parties are required to pay for television and radio broadcasts of political meetings by state-owned Caribbean new media groups, CNMG? If yes, can the Prime Minister state where the UNC paid for the broadcasts of March 2nd and March 9, 2015?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
The answer is yes, Honourable Member for Chaguanas West. Yes, the political parties are required to pay for TV and radio broadcasts of political meetings at CNMG. And the second part of your question, yes, payments were made for the March 9th and March 2nd, March 9th, 2015 meetings of the United National Congress.
The Honourable Member for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West.
Given the significant contributor the National Gas Company is to the country's economy, is the Prime Minister willing to appoint an independent committee to investigate and report within a fixed time on the matters relative to the NGC audit report?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
The Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries has already stated that a committee has been established to look into this matter. That committee comprises Mr. Leroy Myers, Mr. Philip Marshall, and Mr. Hayden Toney. In such circumstances, it is not necessary at this time for any other committee to be appointed to deal with it.
The Honourable Member for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West.
Does the Honourable Prime Minister consider a committee established by the Minister of Energy under whose portfolio or purview the NGC falls, in consultation with the Minister of Finance, a former chairman of NGC, does the Prime Minister consider this an independent committee? Given that, Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Hayden Toney, the chairman, is a retired director of the Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs. Mr. Leroy Myers, a retired public servant, permanent secretary. He served in both the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Finance. I'm coming to the end.
No, you're taking very long. You don't have much time.
Mr. Philip Marshall is the director of the Strategic Management Office of the Ministry of Finance. It's all himself to himself. Is this what we call an independent committee?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
The question was so long-winded and more of a statement, so I'm not sure if the answer is a yes or no. I'm saying yes, that we have confidence that this committee can do the job at this time. They are independent persons of great experience and expertise, just as Mr. McIntosh was a man of great experience in NGC matters. Likewise, they have experience and expertise, and we do believe that they can carry out this function at this time. Can we also, again, you see, Honourable Speaker, the questions are framed in a manner based on certain factual scenarios which may or may not be true. So it talks about to report on the matters relative to the NGC report, the NGC report. Which NGC report? It doesn't say. What we do know is that given allegations made in the media, even NGC has stated that there is no audit report. So which report? Given the allegations, the minister has appointed his team. We are comfortable at this time that they can carry out the mandate to deal with this matter.
The Honourable Member for Point 40.
Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister state whether the Ministry of Finance and the Economy and the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs as monitoring agents reviewed the strategic plans and annual budgets of the National Gas Company as required by the July 2011 State Enterprises Performance Monitoring Manual for the years, in other words, was the review done for the years 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
I've been told by both ministers that their ministries received and reviewed the strategic plan and budget of the NGC. We asked to note that the role of these ministries, it is not their role to approve budgets since the NGC receives no subvention from the government, but they do receive the strategic plans and which contain the budgets of the NGC for the years that you have asked. Both ministries have confirmed, the ministers have confirmed. I think 9 is the same.
Yes, supplementary. Yes, the Honourable Member for Point 40.
Look at 7 and 9.
The State Enterprises Performance Monitoring Manual has, in fact, lays down a performance criteria for all state enterprises. And it is that on review annually, it must be that there must be concerns which would have arisen. And I'm asking the question, did any of the findings on review reveal concerns which ought to have been immediately addressed with a view to protecting the public interests and also ensuring optimal resource utilization? And these are two of the criteria, just two, which are to be evaluated based on the general operating framework, which is detailed in the State Enterprises Performance Monitoring Manual of 2011.
What is the question?
Sorry? Can I ask a direct question?
Yes, direct supplement.
Did any of the findings on review annually reveal any concerns which ought to have been immediately addressed with a view to protecting the public interests and ensuring optimal resource utilization?
All right, cool.
And I said these are some of the criteria that is laid down in the general operating framework in the State Enterprises Performance Manual.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, with due respect, the question is longer than the time I have allotted for answering the question. But the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries could provide further details on the very specific items that you are now requesting an answer to.
The Honourable Member for Point 40.
Well,
Please, Member for the Gomate Northeast. Yeah, please, Member for the Gomate Northeast.
Put them out.
Yeah. Continue. Yes, Honourable Member.
I'd have to lay those questions for
Member for the Gomate Northeast, you are disturbing the proceedings, please. Continue.
I'd have to lay those questions for the Minister of Energy, as the Prime Minister cannot answer. So now I'll go to question number 9. With respect to the allegations of rampant overspending at the National Gas Company, which emerged in the last 2 weeks, can the Prime Minister state what actions she plans to take should those allegations prove to be true or matters of fact?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
As we indicated, Honourable Speaker, the Minister of Energy has appointed a committee to look into the allegations that have been made about spending at the NGC, and we will await the outcome of that report before speculating as to what action should be taken.
The Honourable Member for Point 40.
Why have neither the Chairman nor the President of NGC or any members of the Board of Directors having presided over the alleged affairs which should have been reviewed annually, why have none of these persons been suspended pending the outcome of the investigations?
That is not a supplementary. It doesn't arise out of the question, but it's up to the Prime Minister. The Honourable Prime Minister.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I think we need to remind ourselves as I answer this question that it was when they were in government that they hanged a man while the case was before the Privy Council.
That's not it.
Please.
And therefore, the question the minister is asking why people don't resign, why people don't fired. There's a due process and there's also innocent until proven guilty. At the moment, they're just allegations put out in newspapers reports, media reports, and therefore at this point in time, there is no reason to fire these people because of a newspaper report. I think that will be totally irresponsible.
And they would do that.
I didn't say fire, I said suspend. It's not the same, suspension and fire. Suspending the outcome of the allegations. Pending the outcome of the allegations, I said suspend.
Next question, please. Let's go on the next question, please. What's the supplement? We'll continue.
Right. I'm asking the question whether the government is prepared to act appropriately should any of the members of the board of directors and executive of NGC should be found guilty of any alleged breaches referenced before, insofar as offending Section 9 of the Companies Act and also the Integrity in Public Life Act. And this also speaks to the Minister of Energy as line minister and responsibility for NGC as well.
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the answer is a very simple yes. And in fact, our history and our record will show wherever there has been wrongdoing, I have acted, the government has acted, not on one occasion, but on more than one occasion. And so the answer, very simply to the very long question, Honourable Member, is yes.
Yeah.
And you know,
the Honourable Member for point 14, last question. We have 3 more minutes to go.
Thank you. Allegations of impropriety have recently been made with regard to Petrotrin's Southwest Soldado development project, including the remittances of US $750,000 and US $1.25 million into 2 private bank accounts at the Marval branch of Scotiabank. Can the Prime Minister state whether the government intends to investigate these allegations and what steps, if any, have been taken thus far?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, based on a newspaper report without ascertaining the veracity of the factual scenario, question is being asked. Petrotrin has told us very clearly that they have responded to this issue through diplomatic channels and legal challenges. On June 27, 2013, Petrotrin issued written correspondence to the Deputy Head of Mission of the Embassy of Mexico in Trinidad and Tobago, advising of the issues with Mr. Maresca, and indicating the Petrotrin was reviewing its available options to recover damages for the breach of contract against Mr. Maresca. On 22 August 2013, Petrotrin issued written correspondence to the Honourable Minister Dukaran, Minister of Foreign Affairs, advising of the unacceptable commercial dealings with Mr. Maresca. Further, there has been an exchange of correspondence between attorneys acting on behalf of Petrotrin and Bankers Insurance Associates respectively. It is important to note that Petrotrin had and has no knowledge of monies paid to Mr. Maresca being returned to Trinidad and Tobago. Indeed, Petrotrin has indicated they have absolutely no dealings with Mr. Clark, I believe it is, whose name as a go-between, nor have they any dealings with comprehensive insurance brokers with respect to this matter.
The Honourable Member for point.
Supplementals, is the government aware of the names of these recipients of these accounts, of these account holders? The recipients of these funds?
Which funds?
The account holders at Scotiabank, which we are speaking to.
The government is not aware, fortunately or unfortunately, the government has no power to go into bank accounts or to seek bank records, Honourable Speaker. Those are matters up to the fraud squad and to the police and others in that investigative capacity.
The Honourable Member for
Mr. Speaker, has a report been made to the police then of these misdirected state funds?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
That article appeared on Sunday once again, and I'm sure Petrotrin will take such steps where what appears to be fraudulent activities being reported.
So the government
They will
is not-
investigate. The government, it is Petrotrin's matter, madam, honourable member. It is a matter involving Petrotrin and a contractor, where the contractor is in breach of contract. They have taken steps, continue to take legal steps for recovery of monies paid where this is breach of contract. On a newspaper article, I believe it was Sunday, there is an allegation now of monies being paid back from the foreign contractor to some gentleman by the name of Clark in some bank account. Petrotrin would have had a sight of that article, and should there be cause for fraudulent investigations, they would take such steps to report to the police as necessary. But they have had, Petrotrin has indicated, they have had no dealings whatsoever with this Mr. Clark, and Mr. Clark has never represented him in this matter or in any other matter.
No, time is up. Let's go.
Time is up?
Yes, time is up.
One more.
That is up to the leader of the government business.
So you could ask them.
All right, let's go.
Prime Minister, one more question? One more supplemental?
It's up to you. Time is up.
But the question should be a little short this time.
The honourable member, go ahead.
Thank you. So have any efforts been made at all to hold, through whatever means, to hold or seize these funds in abeyance pending the outcome of these investigations?
The honourable Prime Minister,
Not even a Senate seat.
please, please.
Well, if you had read the article that you're referring to, you would have seen that they said that Bankers Insurance is a bond lodged with Bankers Insurance. Petrotrin has been attempting to recover the money through the bond, in addition to the other legal and diplomatic channels that they have pursued.
They attempted to, but are there funds? Any attempts to hold the funds?